Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this week's edition of The Long Voyage. As you can probably tell, we're not going to start out with music this week, and that is because I have something I need to say. It is a personal matter, but I would like to share it with our listeners because this is something which is important to me. And consequently, I would like to start this whole thing off with a few words on that. A week and a half ago, I lost contact with one of my friends. Her name is Amanda. I'll leave out her last name for privacy reasons. Amanda is a massively talented young woman. She's a graphic artist, amongst other things. And on a personal note, she's kind, funny, and intelligent. The last thing I heard from her was that she made a Facebook post saying that she wanted to end the needless pain. Then she was gone, and her account was deleted. Amanda lives in another country, so I couldn't simply go and look for her no matter how much I wanted to, and believe me, I wanted to. But I set heaven and earth in motion to find out what had happened. I even contacted another person in that general area who does not know Amanda, but who just happens to live within reasonable distance. And that friend, Victoria, then contacted the police in Amanda's hometown, and the police went looking for her, but they didn't find her. So I feared the worst. By yesterday, I was quite literally at my wit's end regarding what to do, so I tried making a post on Facebook to get people to spread it, to help me find out what had happened. I was, at that point, absolutely certain that in the unlikely event I even heard anything on this, it would be with the absolute worst kind of news. To my absolute and undying relief, one of my friends found out who Amanda's mother was, and I contacted her directly, only to learn that my friend was safe with her. She's not doing well, and she has a very long road ahead of her to recover, but she is alive. Now, there's a reason why I'm telling you this story. I want everyone who's listening to this to understand something important. Depression is a real, tangible, and awful thing. It saps you of all your ability to think clearly or rationally. You end up being an empty husk, and you're incapable of functioning. Depression is not merely feeling a bit down or sad or upset. Depression is a far, far worse condition, and whenever people use it flippantly, such as to say, "Oh, I feel so depressed today." We've all heard people do that. But when they do that, it diminishes the understanding of the seriousness of the real, actual, clinical condition that is depression. It doesn't pass in a day or two. It can take months. It can even take years to get over an episode. I know that because I've been through it in the past. My depression lasted for a decade. Uninterrupted. I need people to understand that this isn't something that you can get over in a simple manner. Pull yourself together is the worst kind of microaggression you can level at a person suffering from depression. Or couldn't you just, which is equally bad. No, you can't just when you're suffering from depression. There is no just. It is incredibly complicated. You really ought to is no better, because ought doesn't exist either. If you know someone with depression, real clinical depression, be there for them, even when they can't thank you, even when they can't reciprocate, even if they say some things that are mean, even if they don't seem to want to hang out with you. Stick by them. They need you to, even if they don't know how to say it. Show them that you care. Don't leave them. Listen to them if they need to speak, and understand that you can't understand unless you've been there yourself. And even then, when you listen, it's not about you. It's about your friend or your loved one suffering. They need you to simply listen and acknowledge their suffering. They don't need pity, just acknowledgement will do. And maybe a hug, if they're able to handle it. So ask first. Because human contact is important, and even though it feels like they can't acknowledge that you actually care for them, they have to hear it, and they have to hear it often. Depression is real. Please don't dismiss it. It kills people. It kills a lot of people. And I'm lucky. I am lucky that my friend is not one of those. Thank you for taking the time to listen. Right. Now that that's been handled, Chris, we need a recap of last week.
Yes, we do. Thank you, Heather. So, last time on the Long Voyage, we concluded our long and enjoyable stay in the Lotus Empire, and said our goodbyes to various people we'd come to befriend there. We finished our journey back from close to the Imperial capital, made our way into Lanwan again, where we passed on various bits of news to various people. Particularly, we informed the proprietor of the Fat Goose, and his wife, that their daughter, who was masquerading as their son, would not be returning home due to reasons. And they came to terms with this, although R's wife did explain that she would have to sit down and explain to her delightful husband that their daughter was in fact preferred the intimate company of women. This was something he was not aware of, but which he then obviously would have to have explained to him. And then we briefly stopped by to see the captain, Catwarmer, and the crew, and sort of discussed this, that, and the other, and what the plans were. We found out that we'd lost a few people from the crew in the interim that we'd been away, fighting off and finally eliminating the bandit scourge from the area, including prominently the original first mate Trani had perished now, and so Orma's adopted brother Grani Amvarai has been put in the position as the new first mate of the ship. There was some talk, there was some play, and Grani perhaps somewhat foolishly swore an oath that he would not. Something to the effect that basically, if he were to die, he wouldn't go on to the afterlife. He would linger on this world, essentially. I can't remember the exact reasons why, though, but I do. That's basically what happens. It's basically so he could return as a ghost, he could return as a Draugr for all we know, but that's the gist of what he swore. And things like that are important. But after that, we all went up to see Lord Bao, the guy in charge of Lanwan, and his wife, to explain that yes, we've successfully married off his lovely daughter. Only it was in fact to the second.
The second-born prince of the Lotus Empire.
Which they hadn't been aware of, which they became aware of afterwards. There was much emotion, there was discussion, and yeah, we were always very well. After that we had a big feast in the town to celebrate and say our farewells to everyone. Poor Frothy was sort of grappling with various issues of death and future and prophecy and all that kind of stuff. And just to top all things off, he received several visions and met several different powers, at least it appears he did, in his head, starting with the Lord of Laughter and then moving on to such wonderful people as I think he met the Corpse Queen and the Master of Fire and the Lord of Battles in order.
Yes.
Which, of course, didn't mess him up in the slightest.
Oh, no, of course not. I mean...
And then the Lord of Laughter decided to linger on in his head and be a voice, and even forced him to laugh against his own will, which I think we could constitute as... that as violation of under some law somewhere.
Probably, yes.
But I don't think we're too far away from any of the laws of the Southlands for that to matter anyway. So,
and besides, who's going to prosecute a deity? You know.
Well, there is a film about that. There is actually a film called The Man Who Sued God. I've never seen it, but the idea fascinates me. Anyway.
Oh, Frothy, show me on this doll where he touched you.
The doll doesn't have an appendage for the soul.
Well, he touched the funny bone, hence why you were laughing involuntarily.
That was horrible. Okay.
No, it isn't. But yes, basically, Lord of Laughter basically said that life's all horrible, so you should just laugh more.
Yes,
'Cause,
life's
you know.
a piece of shit when you look at it.
Hmm. In fact, why don't we do that? We should do that. We should sing that song.
Always look on the bright
side
of life.
Well done. There we go. Perfect.
And I managed to make my cat look at me weirdly with a, why the fuck are you whistling?
Well, I think your cat's opinion is, well, I suppose.
You actually have a good whistle.
Yeah, you do actually. So yes,
You
after
must
all that,
teach me.
I did try to whistle the same thing as Radio Witziger.
Yep.
you
So,
should teach you sometime. Yes. After that, we set sail once again into the wild blue yonder, the seas of this world, this nameless world we live on, and after a while, we thoroughly checked the bones to see what was in the future, and saw nothing but danger and horrors awaiting us. And in this thick fog, we came across a ship, which we quickly discovered was flying Phelan flags, our mortal enemies. And perhaps somewhat ignoring for these warnings, desirous of revenge, our captain had us board the ship to attack those on board, only to discover that the ship's crew had pretty much entirely been laid low by plague, and we just jumped on board.
yep. Welcome to
So-
the big ship.
Yes, so we went. So even if we got off as quick as possible, it is a given that at some point in the next couple of days, any and all of us who were near the ship and indeed on the ship might start showing plague symptoms.
Oh, wouldn't that just be so horribly unfair of me? Would I ever do something like that?
Yes,
Okay, fair enough.
just yes. I'm not gonna bullshit about it.
Nope. No point. However,
But-
yes.
yeah.
Sorry, please go on.
I was about to say yes, but I suspect we won't actually be looking at that tonight.
No, we won't, because when we join the ship this time, we see the whole thing slightly from above, from the vantage point of an albatross or some other large seabird that can go out this far, and we see both ships close to each other. The Fagerfeld is pulling away as fast as it possibly can. All men are on the oars. Everybody is hauling for all they're worth, and a few archers are ready with flaming arrows to sink the plague ship. And of course, before long, the one ship is aflame, and the other is still pulling away, and then it all sort of fades into mist, because suddenly we find ourselves back in the Southlands. In fact, we find ourselves back in Hörborg, in the Schwarzenfen, and we see some well-known figures there, but they're younger. In fact, they're quite a bit younger. So this is 5 years prior to the game.
Oh.
Oh, that's before Elva took her oath.
Yes, it is.
That's so cute.
Yes.
She was a 12-year-old little brat.
Yes, she was in fact a 12-year-old little brat. And not only was she a 12-year-old little brat, but the day we join the you happy people in the safety of your magnificent home, the fortress of Hörborg, we also see the gates swinging open, the main gates swinging open, because important guests are arriving. And
Ooh.
as the door opens,
Oh,
you see
dun dun dun
dun
dun
dun
dun.
dun dun dun.
No,
No,
I don't.
not
I don't
that.
think.
Not that, but what you
No.
do see is two columns, because the gates are wide enough for two columns of troops, each 5 abreast, to march through it. So yeah, very large gates. And they're marching in, and at the heads of these two columns ride a man and a woman, each in front of a separate column. Both of them are wearing black cloaks, and so are all the men and women marching behind them. These are two crews of huntsmen, or rather a huntsman and a huntress.
Ooh, we are blessed by very prestigious guests.
Indeed. At this point, you also know that due to recent losses, this is something that your parents have all talked about, because it's been discussed, it's been talked about. That at this point, the Raven Lady is actually under pressure. She has lost half of her huntsmen over the course of a single season. To basically, they got caught out in the open. They were ambushed, various different things, which means that this actually constitutes exactly half of the remaining huntsmen and huntresses.
Wow. Begs the question why they're all out here.
Exactly.
Yes.
But we should probably get some descriptions of your younger selves, shouldn't we?
That would be neat.
So let's start out with Frothy.
Yes.
How old is he, since it's 5 years before?
Then he would be 14.
Yes.
And I imagine at this point in time he would have somewhat recently started his magical training, or just begun.
Yes.
His powers will have... he's been discovered.
Yeah, I imagine he's walking around with a slightly singed look to him.
Yes, that's... Yes, I imagine his hair is actually quite short, because
Yes.
it had to be cut after a lot of it got burned.
Yeah, you know, half of one of his eyebrows is gone.
I just imagine every time he sneezes, he has to stop the fire.
Yeah, or more precisely, maybe not the fire, but at least the smoke.
Yeah.
Billowing from his
Shoo!
nostrils.
God damn it, Frothy! Do that outside!
I think he's recently started a massive growth spurt.
Oh, so he's
And as a
gangly as
result,
well.
He's definitely gangly.
Oh, brilliant.
I think he looks very proud when he walks around, because, you know, he has a great legacy behind him, and he's now also a side maker.
Yes.
You know, very proud, head facing upwards with a little wisp of red, we call it, doon.
Down on his
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, he's
Oh.
proud he's about to grow a beard too.
Oh, yes. And unofficially, I think in England we call that bum fluff.
Bum fluff?
Bum
Yes,
fluff.
I know. Because it resembles actual bum fluff.
Oh, you.
I suppose it kind of does.
You.
I'm not sure I want to know how you know that.
No.
In
No.
any case, ladies and gentlemen, that's what Frothy looks like. Shall we go to Ilva next?
Now I'm just imagining all the horrible ways men actually get a beard, and I don't want any of those images.
Nope.
Anyway, Ilva is a 12-year-old little brat who is, well, she's walking around in pants and shirt because screw girl. Her hair is also very short, and she's probably just been shouted at for cutting it short again.
Probably yes.
She has the occasional bruises, and she mostly resembles a young boy.
Right. The Arya Stark of Hörborg.
The who?
That's Game of Thrones reference.
Yes,
Oh.
you're talking to the only 3 people in all the world who haven't actually seen Game of Thrones.
Or Reddit.
Yeah.
Well, maybe our listeners know of it. I can hope that
I
is
think
the
it's
case.
safe to assume that.
So,
Yeah.
other than that, she's basically a tomboy. That's what you're saying.
Probably carrying a large crate of something heavy metal stuff for her dad again.
Probably, yes.
Trying to get it down to his smithy.
Yes. And we don't. I should probably have mentioned this earlier. We don't have our brain with us, which means we're all kind of brainless.
And then we all turn into zombies.
Yep.
Brains.
Which means that we don't have Gylfi here, of course. But we do.
Which is sad. He would be 10. It's so
He
cute.
would have been adorable. And then we would have, and then we have Sindri, last but certainly not least.
Yes, Sindri, a strapping young lad of 15.
Oh dear.
I know. I say strapping young lad, and a bit of a. I think he's not settled into the sort of adult grumpy element yet. At the moment, he's the teen grumpy.
Oh, he's being sulky, is that it?
You
Yes.
don't understand me, Mom.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Imagine him flipping his fringe out of his eyes.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so misunderstood.
Oh God, Southlander emo.
Everybody hurts.
Oh.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah. Oh God.
I feel slightly ill.
Yeah, that's not that bad. But I think, he is learning his trade at this point. He is
absolutely.
old enough at this point to have started to learn to actually be a hunter. Like he's
I
gonna
would
become
imagine
later.
that he's actually been going with his father on hunts for 5 or 6 years at this point.
True enough, fair enough. But yeah. So yes, he's at. But yeah, otherwise he's at that age where yes, he will probably be a bit sulky at times.
Yes. So, those are our slightly younger than normal protagonists. And you are, as I said, you are standing in the courtyard when this procession arrives. And coming up to you is another girl from the one of the families here at Hürborg. Her name is Rana, which means frog, such as it is. Ribbit. Rana is a friend of all of yours. She's definitely a nice girl. She's at this point she's 14 years old, and it's pretty common knowledge by now that she has problems. She has black moods that occasionally overtake her, and there are those who speculate that she would actually make a very good seer, because those black moods make her almost, you can't really get in contact with her when that happens, and obviously that leads to speculation that she sees visions and so on. Her parents are quite interested in getting her trained for that sort of thing. How Rana feels about it is somewhat up in the air. Nobody has actually really bothered to ask her. But yes, she comes up to all of you, and she's standing basically she's standing there and looking at these two people coming through the gates. These lords of the Southlands, which is obviously what they are. These are two people who literally outrank the Jarl of Svartalfen simply on account of the color of their cloaks, and it's always enormously prestigious to have one of them arrive as a guest, but for two of them to arrive at the same time, it has got to mean that something very, very important is about to happen here.
Then I'm pretty sure I know that Ilva is not really realizing that Rana is walking up to her. She is instead trying to pick up her jaw from the ground while everything from the crate is falling out because she's just...
Yep. But she doesn't...
I is a girl and I has just found my biggest idol ever.
Ooh, yes.
Well, not the idol, just the backup singers.
Yes.
But still, close!
Definitely close. The anyway, Rana does walk up to you, and she stops and says, Do you guys have a moment? I mean, maybe not right now. Maybe when you know, maybe when Ilva regains her senses.
Clunk, clunk, clink.
Sure. I think most people would be busy staring anyways.
Hmm.
I should
When's-
make his voice lighter. Oh well.
Yeah, when would you like to see us then?
As soon as possible. I have a problem.
Oh,
Yeah.
what?
My parents.
Well, parents can be a problem, but
Parents suck.
yeah.
Throaty opens his mouth but doesn't comment. He actually quite like his parents.
Yes.
Even though they're a little icky now and then when they go, "Oh, I love you, baby."
Yes.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, as soon as we've done with seeing what this is about, we'll come find you.
Sure.
Oh, you could stick around and
No,
stay out with us.
No, it's okay. I'll head up to. It's probably not a good idea to talk here because you know everybody's listening all the time. No, I'm gonna head up to Heart's Blood River. You know, if you guys meet me up there, bring the fishing rods or something.
Good idea.
Sure.
Sure. She takes off, and you know smiles at all of you. She looks tired more than anything. Looks like she hasn't slept well.
Mm-hmm.
I think when she's out of earshot, Throaty comments on that. She looks tired. Like she hasn't slept well.
Well, wouldn't you be the same way if you worked that much? Ilva's still looking at
I do work that much.
Yeah. But do you realize how much it takes to be a hunter? I mean, come on. Look at them!
Huh?
She gestures at the people walking into the city.
I don't think Rana's quite on their level.
Huh? Who?
Don't join conversations you're not a part of, Ilva. You'll just make yourself look like a fool.
I do worry about her. With I mean, we've all heard about her black moods and things. That I imagine that's quite exhausting.
I hope it's not true. I mean, I'm supposed to be the seer around here.
Would it be so bad if there were two?
I mean, it's not.
It means he wouldn't get all the credit himself. Ilva starts picking up the stuff she dropped.
Throaty blushes slightly and kicks a rock.
She just got a little too close there, did she?
Yep.
I mean, then he'd have to compete, and he'd actually have to have the skills to do it, right? Then she
I have
turns,
all the
and
skills.
then the klutzy girl she is trips over something and has to pick everything up again.
Hey, I have all the skills. I have a good lineage.
That's
Yeah.
not skills, that's blood.
Well, I have both.
Uh-huh.
Either way, let's not Becca you two. We've got to see what all this is about, and then make our way up to see her. So let's get this over with.
Yeah, I don't remember where I put my fishing rod.
Why is that important?
She asked us. If you've been paying attention to our conversation, you'd know that she'd asked us to bring them with us.
Well, obviously I didn't.
Yes.
Obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Although that's not really our fault.
You can tell, by the way, at this point, people are obviously, you know, they're whispering and, you know, about what this illustrious visit is all about.
Well, can we hear any thing that sounds like it's plausible?
It's the most plausible is that either they are here to offer someone a black cloak, and if that's the case, then obviously everybody's going to know about it in short order, or they are here to, just traveling on their way through to go somewhere else where they should, hand over an offer of a black cloak.
Oh my god, I just realized Ilva hasn't hit her head yet. She still has color in her vision.
Yes.
Woohoo!
Oh,
Yay. Excellent. Okay, so we're hearing the whispers.
Yep, you do.
Any in particular? If we were to listen carefully to them, would we be able to pick anything out?
Not really, because people are a bit confused as to, who would be... I mean, there are several captains. The Jarl of Svartefen, as I've mentioned before, is a very, very, very powerful man. He's got many, 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 many ships in his own, personal part of the Southlander fleet. So there are a lot of captains who could, potentially be offered a cloak. Obviously, there are some that you can probably, you can probably guess that no, that guy who has a reputation as being slightly more timid than the average Southlander is probably not going to be offered a black cloak. But there are several, really truly skilled captains and heroic crews that could get the offer, get the nod, basically.
I think I know who it is.
oh,
Well, Ilva wouldn't know. She's completely dense, but I think I know who it is.
Okay.
Well,
Wah, wah,
Thrudi
wah, wah.
is clearly of the opinion that he's honored that they've come to give him a cloak, but it's perhaps a little too early.
Oh God, he's awful.
Ilva, on purpose, drops the entire crate on his foot.
Ow! What was that for?
Oh,
Being
come
too
on.
full of yourself.
You two, seriously. Got my own problems to deal with. I don't have to keep mothering the pair of you.
My mother's quite enough. I don't need you to.
Let's see if we can get close. See if we can head up more towards the.
Yeah.
What would it be called? The Longhouse, or where the actual seat of the Jarl is located?
Great Hall.
In
It's the
the
Great
Great Hall. Great Hall. Thank you. That's the term I'm looking for. Let's see if we can head there.
Well, I have to give this to Dad, otherwise I'm gonna get an earful later.
Well, wouldn't it be worth it to see all the black clothes?
I can see them when I've given this to Dad.
Not if they leave her straight ahead.
All right.
Not if they leave.
Well, it does look like
Then I'll give Dad an earful for me not being able to see them.
what you realize is that the black cloaks are, in fact, well, some of them are heading up to the Great Hall. Others are, finding places they can sit down and inside the walls and, rest their weary feet. And they have barely sat down before men and women come up to each and every one of them with food and drink, and everybody is paying these people the greatest respect because they are huntsmen's crews. They are legitimate heroes of the Southlands, all of them.
Where did the huntress go?
She went into the Longhouse, or not the Longhouse, the Great Hall. Now I said it too. Into the Great Hall with a couple of her, apparently a couple of her senior crewmen, probably her first mate and her not oarsman. What's it called? The man on the steering oar. And
The helmsman?
Yeah, helmsman. Thank you. Exactly.
The thing Ilva is later?
Yes,
Woohoo!
precisely. And that's that's it. And then so 6 people head up to the Great Hall, and the rest of the crews, which consists of a grand total of, let me see, 70 men on each crew. That would be 140. So 134 men and women wearing black cloaks, suddenly filling up every nook and cranny of the courtyard of Hjöborg. And they are the center of everybody's attention because, again, wow.
Obviously. I mean, that's a rarity.
It really is, and it's also, it's almost as if, you can see people standing there. It looks almost like, oh, can I have your autograph? Can I? It's that kind of adulation.
Oh my.
Oh my. I think Ella will just turn the huge crate of metal stuff into her dad's place.
Yeah, but your dad looks...
Because for some reason, everything is a much more clear path all the way because everyone is busy somewhere else.
Yeah. Your dad looks like he's just about to give you another chore, and then he just shrugs and says, might as well not bother. I don't think I'm going to get much work out of you today. Go look.
And then a smile from ear to ear, and she's gone.
Hmm.
With a, thank you, Dad, love you, Dad! Thunk.
He's kind of adorable.
Yep, and she's already gone, and yeah, again, you have you have these you have huntsmen, basically a few of them, get up and thump their chests and basically they're it's theatrical. They're showing off, and some of Hyrborg's best men, step forward. It's like, we can take you, and before a few seconds pass, you have people forming a Glima ring, so that they can wrestle and see who's actually the stronger.
Oh my.
Hey,
They're like through the showing
Warriors pissing contest,
Of course.
But of course, Glima being a popular sport in the Southlands, everybody is, getting in.
interested.
Woo, and people are crawling up on whatever carts and stacks of whatever, and even on the roofs of houses to be able to actually see down into the mass of people, and see the people actually wrestling in the middle of the whole thing, and it's a. Oh, that was robotic. Please try again. Oh. Okay, let's try swapping over to another room.
Oh dear.
Is this any better?
Nope, no, there's no change.
How about now?
Yes, now.
Okay, because it just reconnected. I saw my connection just reconnected. So
I think
we left Heidi behind the game room.
yeah,
We left the lurker.
we left
Well,
the lurker.
If the lurker can't be bothered to pay attention when listening in, he can stay there.
I'm sure the
He's like
lurker will.
Ilva.
I'm sure the lurker will rejoin us when he can. He knows why we change rooms.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's not because he's toxic, just because
exactly.
Discord is.
Discord is not always nice. So anyway, we you see you see this contest of wrestling going on, and good cheer. People are in high spirits because this is legitimately a tremendous honor for the for Hyrborg, even for a man as powerful as the Jarl of Svartalfen. Having guests like this is an honor for anyone. So and they are gregarious people. They tell stories of war and fighting and adventure and so on and so forth to anyone who's willing to listen, really.
Well, I think Thordy is quite interested, but eventually he will want to go get his fishing pole because he did promise.
Yes.
Yeah, Ilva didn't get the entire conversation, but she did hear that we needed fishing poles, so she will have been running home first.
Yes. And I mean, obviously, you would have probably spent at least a little time on this, and
Obviously.
I mean, crikey, this is not something you're likely to see again, maybe ever. Not that many of them in one place.
In fact, I think Thordy will have spent a lot of time going, my Uncle Buggy told me that people with black cloaks can.
Yeah.
You know.
Yes. And you get some good responses, and you know they actually you also this is important. You also do manage to pick up that apparently they are there to offer someone a black cloak, but they don't know. The people out here don't know who it is. They have no idea, and furthermore, they are here to. They're here to make a formal summons to the Jarl of Svartalfen as well, because Ting is going to be held a little early this year in Vananes. So everyone, who is supposed to go, will need to leave pretty soon. Ting obviously being the legislative process once a year at the capital of Vananes, where all freeborn men are allowed to vote on various issues, and this is and as I said, this is an annual thing, but because you can't really empty the entirety of the Southlands for all of them to go to the capital at the same time, most communities elect a small group of representatives who will then vote on their behalf.
Like, we have these grievances, you take them.
Yeah, exactly. And for a place as large as Hyrborg, the delegation is probably it's going to be fairly large. It's probably going to be close to 300 or 400 men who leave. It's a large community, and it'll need a large group leaving, because obviously there is more than simply the legislative process. There are also contests of martial skill, where it's important for someone as important as the man in charge here to, he needs to show that his men are amongst the best warriors and the best fighters and all of this in the Southlands, so he needs to bring people who can do that. He also needs to bring tradesmen and craftsmen, because the largest market of the entire year is at Ting. So it's a multi-purpose event.
Yes.
And he's but that's all they really know. So you guys have a, I don't know, how long do you count on spending on this? Maybe an hour or thereabouts?
All right.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. So after about an hour, sorry about that. After about an hour, you what is it called?
Break off from the festivities.
Yes, you break off from the festivities. You bring your fishing poles, and you get going.
Yes.
Mhm.
And heading up to what is called Heart's Blood River. Let's just swap you over there so you can see. It is up in.
Interesting.
It is up in the mountains, behind, in the hinterlands of Svartalfen. There are mountains rather nearby, but it's still. It's a climb of several hours to get up there, but it's also a place where you can kind of camp, and a lot of the kids go there, because. Yeah. Parents, generally speaking, don't want to hike for 2.5, 3 hours to get up to a place like this, so kids can have the place to themselves.
In that case, I think Throdi will have stopped by to briefly shout into his house where he's going.
Yes.
Without actually going in, so he can be told no.
Yes. And
I'm going to the... And then he's going, no, you're not. Oh, fuck.
And that is pretty much what's happening. You go back there to say, hey, I'm heading up to Heart's Blood River, and then you're already gone, and you're pretty sure that you hear your mom's voice shouting, no, and then you're already gone. The joys of being 14 years old, eh?
I think you laughed
Yeah.
out loud on the way.
Yep.
So, after, as I said, takes you about 3 hours to get up there. It's about mid-afternoon by the time you do get up there, but there are several caves. You know this. There are several caves up there where, because people go there so often, there are, rudimentary bedding, like straw and some blankets and so on and so forth that are always left there in little dry alcoves, and it's easy to find a few twigs so you can get a fire going. There's somebody usually brings peat with them up there so they can get a fire going as well. That kind of thing. And of course there's the river, so it's not really a problem getting something to eat. It's chock full of salmon and trout.
That's
Nice.
good.
So, yeah.
Okay.
You well, salmon is only obviously during part of the year, but there's trout year round, and you get you get up there and you can't actually see Rana anywhere.
Rana!
I think Sindri will put his hunting skills to some use then.
Trying to track her.
Yes, basically.
Yes. We don't need a roll for it. It's fine.
No.
Obviously, being in this, for the... Yeah, ladies and gentlemen of the viewing audience, this is a service announcement. Obviously, the players, with their massive amounts of experience under their belts, are considerably stronger and better at most things as adults and members of the crew of the Fagerfair than they would be 5 years earlier when they're still kids. So
No, Hilda still has a strength of 16. Come on.
yeah, right. And so yes, you use what skills in tracking and so on you do have, and you can tell that she has in fact arrived recently. There has been someone here, very recently indeed. But you can't. You're having difficulty finding out where she's gone. You're pretty sure she's headed to one of the caves.
Well, we shall have to be extra careful going there because caves can house all kinds of creatures, but still going to try and follow her.
Well, when you
Okay.
get there, you can see that there's a small campfire that's already been lit.
Oh, okay.
Rudy looks disappointed. He was looking forward to showing the others his only spell, Ignite Fire.
Yes, you might still have to use it because the fire has almost burnt down.
Oh, it's been abandoned then.
It does in fact look like it has been.
Damn.
Well, in that case, Rudy says, look at this. And does the appropriate thing and tries to cast Ignite Fire.
Yes, and it's overly dramatic and a lot
Of
of
course.
large gesticulation, I guess.
Of course.
Yes.
I have to impress the others.
Yes, it has to be with flair and panache. So, after waving his arms around in a manner which the rest of you probably think looks a little silly, and he probably thinks looks incredibly cool, he does in fact actually light the campfire. Fully. It doesn't. It's not burning out anymore. He manages to get a fresh flame into the peat. And with that, you obviously also have more light in the cave. It's not the largest cave here, but it is one of the. It's large enough that a group of 5 or 6 could easily camp here for a night. It's not a problem. And you know that occasionally groups of 5 or 6 do that. Occasionally, groups of 2 do so as well.
Oh.
But in this case, you are the only ones in the cave. But you do see a fishing rod.
Where
Oh,
is she?
Bill's in here.
What I wouldn't give to have a dog to track a scent by.
Yeah.
Well, you can try Ilva.
Ilva gives a stinging look.
Not funny.
Hmm.
I'm getting worried about her.
Oof.
Alright. So we'll go back outside, see if you can
Maybe you had to take this.
possibly.
Is the cave deeper than what we're in?
No, it's not that deep. It's you can see that from if you're standing in the back of the cave, you can clearly see the exit.
It's just enough to keep you dry, but not enough to
Exactly.
do much else.
It's slightly up off the ground, and the reason why it's such a good camp place is that it actually slopes a little bit upwards into the cave, only a small amount, but it means that if it rains, which obviously it does fairly often, the water is not going to run into the back of the cave.
That's good.
Yes. Very good.
It is actually quite good. But you do, as I said, you do find her fishing pole.
What? Well, 30th of the opinion, she's probably gone to relieve herself.
Nevertheless, I think Sindri will. Well, he'll ponder taking it with him just to make sure, just so they can bring it to her if they find her.
That's a good idea.
Yep.
Can't you track her some more?
Maybe, but there's not much to go on. Just the sound. I can't track a scent or anything. I can track footprints and sounds barely, but I'm still learning.
Well, we could try calling her, or calling for her.
Possibly, but well,
She's
Are
one
there
of
any-
her moves. She won't hear us.
but like, out of character, is this an area where the wild animals that are dangerous wild animals are known to congregate?
Occasionally there are wolves, but no bears. Certainly no white bears. It's too. It's. There isn't enough snow here for the white bears. And
Well-
the last time anyone saw an ice reaver in this part, so something like 50 years ago.
Well, Sindri will make a calculated risk. He'll risk going out into the open air again and clapping his hands to his mouth and calling for her
Yeah.
as loud as he can.
It's one of the reasons why this place is popular with kids is that it's actually quite safe.
Oh, good.
Because otherwise parents might say, "No, you're not going there." They might be Southlander kids, but still.
Yeah.
You're still kids.
They're still kids, and the wolves are also Southlander wolves. So
Mhm.
the
It's not the little pet ones they have in other countries.
no,
They're huge ass beasts.
they're
here.
huge ass beasts. They would probably be called dire wolves anywhere else, and then of course the Southlands also actually have dire wolves.
Yes, just
because
not-
having a
not
wolf
here.
the size of
So we
having
have-
a wolf the size of a pony is
We have that wolf that's the size of a big or a very small pony, and then we have the dire wolf that's the size of a Pecorus.
not quite that large. It's the dire wolves are the size of a pony, which is still absolutely enormous for a wolf.
yes. Okay.
We're talking about several hundred kilos worth of wolf there. That's ouch.
Ow.
That's a big wolf.
Yeah, it is.
Fat wolf.
Big wolf.
Big fat wolf. So yes, no, definitely calling out. Oh no, we're here. We arrived like you wanted. Where are you?
And
Ding.
you've only just barely shouted that when something hits you on the nose, and then something else hits you on the nose, and something hits you on the top of your head, and then you're soaked.
Oh, it's raining.
Yeah. And it's like drip, drip, whoosh!
Oh, great.
Is it
Well-
summer or winter at the moment?
AJ asked if
So-
summer or winter.
It's summer. It's summer.
Well, Thordy says as he approaches the cave entrance, this is sure to make her come back.
Unless something happened and she can't.
You two, if you two want to get some shelter from the rain, I'm going to stay out here and keep looking for her.
I'm not gonna leave you to it.
Okay.
Doesn't seem like Rana just stay away.
Okay.
Well,
But-
if you're really worried, perhaps we should split up and look around.
Yeah, let's do that instead.
Okay.
I'll want her found.
Thrudy takes his fishing rod and brandishes it like a sword.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And just as you do that, and the other two, you guys see this happening. Suddenly, Frothy's eyes go just milky white, and Frothy, you don't even notice this because you're suddenly a mile away, 2 miles, 100 miles, and you know you've only had very minor visions up until this point. You know that you have the gift of a seer. This is the first time you have anything this overwhelming. And what you see is, it's like you're behind Rana's eyes,
Oh.
and she is here somewhere. She's in the landscape outside, and suddenly you sense a presence, and you turn around, or rather she turns around, and she looks up at a wolf the size of a house.
Oh crap.
You've never seen anything like it. It's not a dire wolf. It is again, you've never ever in your life seen anything even remotely close to something like that. It is utterly terrifying. And of course she yelps, because who the hell wouldn't? And then she legs it.
Right.
Just getting the hell out of there.
Getting the hell out of Fetch.
Oh yeah.
Do I return then to the real world?
Yes, you do. After you've seen that, you return.
Oh, I he falls backwards. and
Yeah,
lands on
probably.
his
You feel very, very drained after that.
Oh,
Let's take a few steps back. He went freaky.
Right.
Basically, this is the same as you having lost about half of your fatigue points.
yes.
Wow.
You were saying
Rosie, what happened?
we have to find her. She was a wolf the size of a house. He thinks real hard if he can remember anything that would point us towards her direction.
There is a place. It's not nearby, but there is a place. If you continue further up into the mountains, that you've heard of. None of you have ever been there, but it is called the Ribs of the Great Wolf. And it's supposed to be a really, really freaky rock formation, which is further up into the mountains. It's the only thing you can think of that has anything to do with a wolf a size of a house.
Fair enough. Did the others want to say something before I...
No, you say.
I think. Well, the point is, you've all heard of this place. It's think the Lion King with Simba being told.
The elephant
Yes.
graveyard.
Exactly. You are not supposed to go there. It is dangerous. And every year, some kid tries to go there, and sometimes they don't come back.
I think she's at the lips.
The rips, not lips.
Ah, rips. That sounds much more cool, because the lips doesn't sound that cool.
Nope. Rips.
No, I mean you wouldn't want to be anywhere near the lips of the Great Wolf either, because behind those lips are the
Nom
teeth.
nom 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 nom.
True.
Anyway, Sindri looks quite grim, for lack of a better word. Right, you two want to go up there?
Of course.
That's
Can't leave her. Ilva's already walking.
I'm used to
get
this.
some
I'll go.
torches.
Yes. I'll need to. I'm the quickest of us. I'll go on ahead. You, Ilva, look after Frozy. Make sure he has to get up and while he recovers.
I think we need to
Fine.
change rooms again, but we can do that because everything is robotic for me again.
dear.
But
Slightly robotic for me, but it has been for a while.
so if we take our first break here, and we will get back to what you guys want to do when we return.
Oh my god, we're 1 minute early for a break. We're
It's
a
fine.
little late.
Yes. All right.
Fine.
We're going to take a break, and we will be right back with more of the Long Voyage.
Push.
Right.